Okay, this is my 1987 Bertone X1 and yes, that is how you pronounce it, Bertone. This car is in remarkable condition. The paint job is very good, if I do say so myself. Now it is a garage paint job, but it's been wet sanded and buffed. Came out really nice. It's not what I would call like a Concours showroom type finish, but it's certainly something to drive around and be proud of. I get lots of compliments on the paint job. There are some dents in the front hood. I don't know if they really come out in the video on camera. I'll try to get them. They're like hail dents, and honestly, I didn't even notice them when I was finishing the hood. I didn't notice them until after I got the clear coat on it. And of course, once you put clear coat on black, every little imperfection shows up. It was something that I was going to go back and fix and repaint, but I never did. Now I fully rebuilt this car, rebuilt the engine, all the mechanics, everything's new, from the radiator all the way back to the motor, electrical completely gone through, the wheels professionally refurbished, back to the condition that it would have been in 1987 if it was sitting on the showroom floor. It even has the factory spoiler. The wingtips are in perfect condition. Now the wingtips are plastic. The spoiler's aluminum. The wingtips are plastic. They do break if you're not careful, and they are impossible to find. One of them was broken on the passenger side, I think. When I bought the car, this one was broken. I was actually able to find one, brand new, never used, which is, you'll never find another one. So basically when you close the rear trunk, you just have to be very careful not to push on the ends. If you're washing the car, you got to be careful that you don't get the hose like up underneath there and pull up on it. If you're gentle with them, they'll last. People have glued them, and there are several hacks that you can do to put them back if you do break them. But be that as it may, these are new, or at least this one's new, and it's in perfect condition. The one on the driver's side was already in perfect condition. One blemish in the paint job is right here. You can see it. It was my own stupidity when I was buffing the car. I got distracted for a second and didn't realize I was burning through the clear coat, and I tried to gently wet sand that out and buff it as best as I could, but this quarter, the whole quarter panel all the way up to the seam really just needs to be repainted. But I don't know, it's probably not noticeable by anybody but me and now everyone watching this video because I pointed it out. The paint scarred off here where the top goes on, the rubber hits that. Really nothing I can do about it. You'll see a little bit of rust in a hole right there. They make these aftermarket corner pieces that you can put here, and there's a little screw that goes in there. I had 2 sets of them and they kept breaking on me, so I took them out and I just wrapped the rubber around, and actually it seals better this way than it did with those pieces. So just need to touch up that with some touch-up paint. The top is the top sail piece is dirty because when the fiberglass top sits on it, it covers that, and when you wash it, you don't get that piece. So got to go over it with like a wet sponge, which I just haven't done. The other major paint blemish is here on this piece, along the passenger side door, the vent window. And again, that was my stupidity when I took the doors completely apart and refinished them. And when I was putting this back in, I wasn't careful enough and I scarred the paint there and just never went back and fixed it. So other than the minor little hail dents in the hood that honestly they're probably the only person that ever notices them is me. But I mean, I don't even know. I mean, I'm trying to make them come out in the video, but you can see it's, maybe if I get down like this. Anyway, they're there. Everything works on the car except the air conditioning. And I do have a brand new in-box compressor, never installed. The air conditioning unit has a charge, so I think it would work, but I can't get the compressor to kick on. So I bought that compressor on eBay. It was like, paid like $600 for it. It'll go with the car. Just one of those things I never got around to. So you're probably asking, after I've done all this work on the car, why am I selling it? Well, right there is the reason. I ended up with a 71 Ford F100 that I've been working on, and my garage just isn't big enough for both cars. It was fun working on it. I've enjoyed driving it a little bit, but honestly, I had one of these when I was a teenager. It was a lot of fun, and my knees remind me that I'm not a teenager anymore. So when I get in and out of the car, it's just not super comfortable for an old guy like me. But I just wanted to focus on my Ford and let somebody else enjoy this car. The car is very, very rust free. There were a couple of rust spots on it that I did repair, on the driver's side door, on the front corner, I believe, down here. I had to cut out and weld in a new piece. The rear trunk, this is where these cars rust the most, is in these lower pockets. This pocket down here I replaced. It's dirty, but it's not rusted. It's just dirt down there, I promise you. That's the jack. This is a wire for an electric. Well, this is the antenna cable, and then there's a wire down here for an electric antenna, which this car doesn't have. But that pocket has been replaced. This pocket has not, but it's in perfect condition. Again, it's dirty, not rusty. The only other, and again, like I said, when you close these, you got to be careful. All the rubbers around both trunks, doors, top, everything, all new. So when you close this, don't close it don't push on the spoiler. Grab it under the spoiler on the trunk lid itself. Make sure it latches. Engine. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't want to unlatch. Got to use two hands. Pardon me. Actually, I was pulling on the wrong lever. Engine has been completely gone through. 100%. All new seals, gaskets, rubbers. The top end and the fuel injection manifold was completely rebuilt professionally by Midwest Bayless in Columbus, Ohio. They are renowned Fiat experts. Everything's been replaced, cleaned, repainted, you name it. New fuel pump, new fuel filter. There's nothing on this engine that hasn't been gone through. It is extremely well sorted, runs very good. We'll do a start and a drive. The engine bay's a little dirty. You think I would clean it before I show it off and try to sell it, but it is what it is. I like to show things the way they are, rather than, polish them up and make them look more perfect than they really are. There is another spot of rust. It's in the front trunk on the driver's side inner fender, which I will show you in a minute. I'm embarrassed to say I didn't even notice it, because the carpet in the front trunk covers it. And I never took the carpet. Well, I did take the carpet out. I peeled it back to look at the floor of the trunk, which is completely solid. But I didn't even notice the rust on the inner fender until after I had, I was putting the car back together, and I said, "Oh shoot, need to cut out some metal there and weld in some new metal." And I just, again, one of those things I never got around to. It's cosmetic. You can't even see it. But I will show you. It's in the photos, but I will also show you in the video, maybe in a separate video, because I got to take the top is sitting in the trunk right now. I got to take it out, take out the carpet. I'll do those things and show you in full disclosure. Other rust that I repaired was on the floorboards, which were actually in really, really good shape, but on both floorboards, passenger and driver, there are drain holes, in case you leave it out in the rain with the top off. And around those drain holes there was some rust, and I went to clean it up. I was grinding it back to bare metal, and had a lot of just little pinholes, so I cut out some sections back to clean metal, welded in those sections, new drain holes. There's Dynomat down on the floors to kind of help with the sound and keep it cool, because the radiator hoses run under the car back to the engine, so helps keep the interior cool. So all that was primed and painted, and then the Dynomat put down underneath was undercoated. That was the only rust. No, actually, I take that back. There was one other piece of rust when I had the engine out on one of the cross members. There was a piece of rust. Most guys probably would have just left it, but I cut that out, welded in new metal. I have pictures of all that, and it's as good as new. So other than what's on the inner fender on the front, there is no rust on this car. So let's take a look at the inside. Again, getting down in it, a little hard for an old guy like me, but I am 5'9", 5'10", maybe 5'9.5". I fit the car very well. The seat is all the way back. A lot of people ask about the fitment. My knees are slightly bent. I'm trying to show it. It's actually quite comfortable once you're in the car. Getting in and out of it, not so much, but once you're in it, it's actually quite comfortable. If you were 6'2", 6'3", or taller, maybe you'd have a problem. But I know my dad was over 6 foot, and he could actually drive the one I had as a teenager. He could actually drive it, but his head hit the roof. So the let's see, the visors, they don't want to stay up. So when you're driving it, especially the passenger side one, it wants to like fall down. The problem, it's a very common problem on these cars. I'll try to show you. The plastic hinge piece bracket that holds these, you can see this one's got a little crack in it, and so the pin, plastic pin that goes into this is supposed to be stationary, and the visor is supposed to ride up and down on it, and you tighten these nuts to make it stiffer. But since this is cracked, that pin is actually rotating. It can be glued. Every time I get in the car and the visor falls down, I say to myself, I need to fix that, and then I never do. These brackets are actually obtainable. You can get them at Midwest Bayless. There are some companies that make aftermarket ones. I've seen them where people make them out of aluminum, which of course would be much better than the plastic. So if I was going to fix it, that's probably what I would do. I would just try to find a new set of aluminum ones. Common problem on these cars is the rear view mirror. They crack, the glass delaminates, they get rusty because the casing of it is metal. This one, I replaced it with an NOS, so it is in perfect condition. It functions day, night. The glass is perfectly clear because it's brand new. Another big problem you'll find on these cars is the glove box hinge. This one is actually in perfect condition. I replaced this glove box door. I managed to find one with a good hinge, which is near impossible. But the reason they break, you can see the glove box door doesn't open very far, and a lot of people, once it opens, they want to like pull it open more, and then it breaks that hinge, which is just plastic. So as long as you don't force it open and just let it open to its natural height, it'll last forever. But this one, again, perfect condition. There's a crack in the dashboard. That happens on these cars. Very, very common. Dashboards you can buy aftermarket dashboards for these, or maybe not aftermarket, but restored dashboards, I should say. And surprisingly, they're not that difficult to replace. I've had this one apart. I haven't had it out. Electrical, everything works. Turn the key on, you can see warning lights work, fuel gauge works, brand new gas tank and sender unit. When I bought this car, it had been sitting for like 15 years. It had old gas in it, and even though the tank wasn't leaking, I just didn't want to take a chance, so I went ahead and replaced it with a brand new tank, new sender unit, so all that works. Hazard lights work. Rear defogger, you can see. Honestly, I don't know if the rear defogger itself actually works because I don't use this car in the winter time, but the light comes on. I assume it works. This button here is for dome lights, which are on the door. You can see that button works, and the dome lights do come on when the door opens. Radio works. It's a radio I put in it. It's a Bluetooth. There's a microphone right here. There's no CD player, but you can sync it to your phone and play music. It sounds okay. It's got decent speakers in it. They're not perfect. It's good enough. Power windows. Switches are here. I replaced these switches, so these switches are new. The original ones were kind of corroded, and they do work. Power windows both work. Horn. Horn works. As you can see, sometimes you gotta like smack the button a little bit. I think it sticks, but it does that a couple of times. Of course, it does it while I'm making the video, but you know, it's an aftermarket steering wheel. This button comes off, it pries off. I've been thinking about maybe spraying some lubricating oil in there, or some kind of grease or something, but headlights, of course, work. Dash lights work. They're not super bright, but they never are on these cars, but they do work. And I don't know what else to say except, well, transmission. So I have a nice aftermarket Bertone gear shift knob in a leather boot, which I really like. Transmission's in good shape. Now, first gear synchronizer is a little weak, so if you downshift into first before you come to a complete stop, you'll feel it. You don't hear it, but you'll feel it kind of grind a little bit. It's not a good feeling, so I'm just in the habit of not downshifting into first until I'm stopped. Third gear, if you're downshifting from fourth into third and you go real fast, you'll feel it grind. But if you take your time and you go into neutral and then into third, it's fine. Other than that, transmission's in great shape, no problems. Like I said, AC does not work, but the heater works. The heater works very good, sometimes a little too good. I think that's it. So emergency brake works. Brakes are all new. Like I said, everything mechanical on this car is new, rebuilt, replaced. This car is very, very well sorted. Shouldn't have any problems. We'll go ahead and take it for a little drive. Now, full disclosure, it's not exactly a cold start. I did drive the car earlier today. It's been sitting probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours. But honestly, cold start is exactly the same as what you're going to see here. I can get a true cold start video. I can come out like tomorrow morning after it's been sitting and show you. But honestly, you don't have any problems starting the car. So I'm going to start it. Now you'll see the tachometer is a little off. It's showing that it's at 0 RPMs, and obviously it's not. It's really idling probably about 800 RPM, so it's about 800 RPMs off. The only way to fix that is to maybe have it calibrated or replace it. You can actually replace this entire gauge cluster. They're a dime a dozen, but I have a feeling it's probably a common problem on these cars. But I just know that it's 800 RPMs off, and I just live with it. Speedometer works. It's actually quite accurate, according to the little road sign speed radar things that they have around town. It's actually quite accurate. You see the battery's charging. Alternator's new, battery's new, starter's new. It's a gear reduction starter. Car has 53,000 miles on it. I can't prove it, but I would bet the farm that that's original miles. I'm quite certain this is the original gauge cluster, because this gauge cluster, this particular design, is unique to 87. So if it had been replaced sometime, somebody replaced it with another 87, but I don't think it has been replaced. The car, when I bought it, it had just been sitting for a long time. But when I tore the motor down, I could tell it wasn't high miles. So I would say 53,000 miles is perfectly accurate. So I'm going to put my sunglasses on. Can't drive an Italian sports car without your shades. I'm going to try to do this by myself, so I'm going to drive while filming. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell the cops. I don't know if you can tell in the video, if you can hear that squeaking, like when I let out on the clutch. Hear that squeak? What that is the exhaust. The exhaust hangs on these, there are these brackets that the muffler and the catalytic converter hang on, and they rust out. Every Fiat X19, they're rusted out, but there are people that make replacement ones out of stainless steel, which I put on this car. And then there are these springs that hang from the muffler to those brackets, and those springs are what's squeaking. I thought about coating them maybe with some penetrating oil or something to quiet them down. I keep thinking that maybe after I drive it enough that sound will go away. It hasn't yet. You'll hear it every once in a while, but that's what it is, because I can go out and shake the muffler and hear that same sound. So second gear, third gear, fourth gear, and fifth gear. So we're cruising about 50 miles an hour. See, the steering wheel doesn't shake. Everything's been aligned. The car is, like I said, it's been completely gone through. All new suspension bushings, wheel bearings, control arms, tie rods, you name it. This car has been addressed on this car. You're not going to have any problems. Sun visor just fell down. So let me turn around here. I'm hoping you can hear me okay with the top off and the wind blowing. I hear that squeak? It's just the muffler. This does have an adjustable coilover suspension. I put that on primarily because I wanted to get not only the stance but the camber right. You'll notice on a lot of Fiats, on a lot of X19s, you'll notice the rear wheels, the camber, you'll notice them like sticking out a little bit. You'll also notice it squatting in the rear. I don't like that. I wanted both wheels to be perfectly aligned, camber wise. I wanted the stance to be right. And in order to do that, an aftermarket coilover suspension is the way to go. It's a lot of money. It's a couple $1,000s I spent just on the suspension alone. but a very worthy upgrade. The only thing is, it does make it ride a little rougher than what the factory suspension would be. It takes bumps maybe a little harder. Maybe not. Unfortunately, I didn't get to drive this car until I rebuilt everything, so I didn't get a chance to feel the original suspension, but the original suspension was in very bad shape. So, but I think it rides, if memory serves, from the one I used to own years and years ago. I think it does maybe take bumps a little harder, but that stiffness also, of course, gives it a more sporty handling, which these cars don't really need because they handle superbly the way they are. But this particular one handles great. So that's it for the walk around and the drive. The only other issue that I can think of is now the windshield wipers work, the sprayer works. The only thing is the intermittent wipers. Sometimes when you put it on intermittent, they're not intermittent. They just go regular, and you gotta like jiggle the lever that you turn the wipers on. You jiggle it just a couple of times, and then the intermittent works. So intermittent wipers work intermittently, but other than that, it's a great car. Very well sorted, everything gone through. It really needs nothing unless you really want air conditioning. But all the components are there. New compressor, just got to put it in and have it recharged. But it really needs nothing. So that is it. I hope you enjoy. Ask me any questions. If you want any additional photos, if you want any additional videos, feel free to ask. But I'm telling you, you would be hard pressed to find another 87 Bertone X1 in this kind of condition. You would really be hard pressed to find it. So good luck with the auction, and I hope whoever wins it really enjoys it. Thank you very much.